episode, I will show you how the Layer Styles panel works in Photoshop. Photoshop allows you to create all sorts of styles for any layer that you have on the Layers panel. When using Layer Styles, it's a great idea to use a texture as a background or something to work with instead of having just a simple white or plain white or plain black background. So for this episode, let's press Ctrl O or Command O, and you can open this image for this in order to practice. In order to make this a little more effective and a little more fun, let's use the rectangular marquee tool, or actually let's use the brush, because I think it's going to be a little more fun. Press the B key on your keyboard to select the brush. Make sure the blend mode here, you can see again, blend modes can also be set for the brush. Make sure you have it on normal for now, opacity 100%, flow 100%, and smoothing to 0%. Now, let's also open the brushes window. Go to window. Remember on episode 1 I said that all the panels are inside the window menu here. You could press F5 or go to window and choose brush settings, and from here you can adjust the behavior of the brush. By default the brush just creates lines like this, but you have a few options here on the brush tip shape. You can increase the spacing and you can create dots. Let's make the size a little smaller like that, and we can activate shape dynamics and increase the size jitter. What this does is allows you to create randomly sized dots. You can see randomly changes the size, and we can also activate scattering, which allows you to create non-linear dots, so you can spread them around your canvas. Okay, now we have this. I think it's okay for this simple practice, and let's use the yellow color like this maybe, and make a few dots. But we have to create a new layer. So first create a new layer and paint these dots on this new layer. Now we could add a blend mode to this layer. For example, we could use overlay, or we could use color dodge. I think it's too intense. Let's see, vivid light, or linear light. Just try blend mode there randomly. Now, in order to open the layer styles, you have to double click on an empty space. If you double click the name, it will let you change the name. Let's name this dots. If you double click the thumbnail, it's going to open the layer styles, but only if this is a normal layer. If it's a text layer, it will select the text. If it's an adjustment layer, it will open the properties panel. So it's always safer to just click on an empty space here. That will open the layer styles. And this is the panel where you can control all the styles that you want to add for your particular layer. First, you have the blending options, and here you have the blend mode, which is the same that we have here. And we have a few other settings, which I'm not going to discuss in this course. This is something just a little more advanced, but you can tweak settings by your own and see what they do. And here we have a list of styles. Now, this may vary if you have an older version of Photoshop, like for example CS6, where you have a list of styles, and that's it. Now, Photoshop in these newer versions allows you to add more styles from this list. In previous versions of Photoshop, you had them all listed, and in newer versions, you just have this small list, and from here you can add more if you want. Whenever you check this box, you're going to activate that particular style. Let's add, for example, an outer glow. Usually the names are very self-explanatory. Outer glow, it just creates a glow, as you can see around them. And as I said on the previous episode, most of them have some sort of blend mode associated with them. In this case, this random color is set. Let's use maybe an orange. And linear dodge is not bad, but let's try color dodge to create a sort of glow here. Then you have each layer style has its own particular set of settings. And this is just a matter, as I said, with the blend modes, it's just a matter of playing around and getting to know what each of these settings do. Most of them are really intuitive and self-explanatory, and some of them are just a matter of playing around and see what they do. And you have the live preview here, and you can see what they do. You can make more advanced stuff with layer styles, and further on this course I will show you how to create more advanced text styles. But just as a first contact, I think it's a good idea to just make some random glows and stuff around here. Whenever you see an overlay, whenever you see the word overlay here on the layer style, it just means it's just going to cover the whole content of your layer. Okay, so in this case it's just going to cover with the color. For example, we could use a green and then give it a blend mode. But it's interacting with that yellow, which is not going to make it really visible, so you have to try around. Now this style is not particularly useful here. It's not going to do much except on the bottom shapes there. Let's leave it on. Then you have a gradient overlay, which is going to do the same as the color, but instead of using a color you can use a gradient. And you can see the thumbnail here. When you add a style, you can click here on the canvas and just move it. If you click and drag, you can move it, and you can see here the preview of that style with all the styles applied. Pattern overlay is going to apply a set of textures, and you can load more of them. Whenever you see this cogwheel here, means you have a list with more presets, so you can select, for example, legacy patterns, and here is going to ask me if I want to replace them. I'm going to click OK. Oops, it happens to be the same one. Let's try color paper, and you see now I have different patterns. Now it's important to know that you can download from the internet. There are lots of websites which allow you to download patterns, styles, brushes, and lots of presets. I'm going to show you at the end of the course what you can download from the internet. And as you can see that the pattern also has the blend mode, so you can leave it on normal and it will look like that, or you can make it interact with the rest of the styles and the rest of the elements there. So let's try, for example, hard light, or I don't know, maybe overlay. And you can see I can also move it. As I said, you can click and drag and you can move things around. You can add more styles from here, like for example inner shadow. There are lots of them, and you can just try them on. You can also create like 3D effects. Let me show you that. I'm going to create a selection with the rectangular marquee tool on a new layer. Click and drag, and I'm going to fill the selection with the same color. With Option Backspace, it's going to fill my selection with the foreground color. Okay, and now I'm going to go back into the layer styles. Double click, and the 3D effect can be achieved using the Bevel and Emboss. I'm showing you this because it's just maybe a more interesting effect than the other ones. And here you have a set of settings. You can increase the depth and the size, and you can see the effect that you get. And have multiple styles. By default, the inner bevel is activated. You can use emboss, you can use pillow emboss, so you can try different styles and see which one you want. And here on the shading, it's actually where you can tweak things and make them look more sharper. You can soften the effect. Maybe the size, it's kind of too big. And here you can choose the how the gloss should look like. You can create this sort of golden effect, or you can see you have multiple styles here. So again, it's just a matter of practicing. You can intensify the highlights, and you can change the blend mode of those highlights and even the color of it. So instead of having it white, I could use this sort of on normal. Maybe I could use a blue. I think by default is on screen. Okay, and you can create all sorts of styles. Then you can also activate the contour. Let me just change the angle a little bit so you can see it better. You can also change the contour of this. You can add texture, which is going to create a sort of a 3D emboss effect here, and you can change the patterns from here. And as you can see, let's set a depth of just about 5%, sorry, a scale of 100%, and a depth of just 5%, or maybe 15%. So that's really quickly how this works. Maybe try something more towards red. Something really simple, but this is what layer styles do. They affect the whole content of a layer, and you can create multiple styles. You can activate them and create all sorts of effects. You can use this to create glows, light effects, text styles, which is what we're going to do on a future episode. But really quickly, this is a quick introduction to the layer styles. If you want to add glows and lights and stuff like that, you can use this panel to do it.